Can you read, please?
The majestic king of Troy slipped past the rest and kneeling down beside Achilles, clasped his knees and kissed his hands. Those terrible, man-killing hands that had slaughtered Priam's many sons in battle.
Okay, so the contrast, right? Achilles slaughtered many of Priam's sons in battle, okay? And what the majestic king of Troy does is he kneels, kisses his hands, okay? He kneels before Achilles. Priam is out behind Achilles. Priam could just take a dagger and stab Achilles in the neck and kill Achilles. He doesn't do that. Instead, he kneels before Achilles and kisses the hand, the very hand who killed all of his sons. All right? Keep on going.
Awesome as when the grip of madness seizes one who murders a man in his own fatherland and flees abroad to foreign shores, to a wealthy, noble host, and a sense of marvel runs through all who see him. So Achilles marveled, beholding majestic Priam. His men marveled too, trading startled glances. But Priam prayed his heart out to Achilles.
And what's the effect? Awesome. Okay? Okay. Achilles, the great warrior who bows to no one, he is stunned by this. He is defeated by this. He is awed by the majesty of Priam. Okay? Greatness does not come from defeating your enemies. It comes from forgiving your enemies. Right? This is an act, okay? This one act of kissing the hands of the man who killed all his sons. It's going to change the universe forever, okay? One action is going to change the entire universe and bring peace and reconciliation to the world. All right? And not only is Achilles stunned, but so are everyone around him, okay? His men marvel too, okay? So this is reverberating across the universe, where you're far away, but like you feel as though an earthquake has happened. You feel as though something magical has happened, and it changes you for the better, okay? So remember, what has happened? When the grip of madness seizes one who murders a man in his own fatherland and flees abroad to foreign shores to a wealthy noble host, and a sense of marvel runs through all who see him. Okay? So there are people who do great murder, okay? And so they have to run away. Now when they run away, their crime follows them. They become slaves in a new land. But some people are able to become successful in that place, okay? They're able to change their fate. So what this is saying is, because Priam has the strength and the courage to forgive his great enemy, he's changing his fate. He's changing the fate of the world around him, okay? And the idea here is, as above, so below. All right? And this is a great secret of the universe. What we do today, what we do at this moment, can change the course of history. Because if what we do is memorable, it will implant itself throughout the universe and be there for all future generations. All right? And that's what's happening, okay? So what Homer is doing is, he is drawing from the universe this memory and showing it to us. That's what the Iliad is, okay? Iliad is a depiction of the universe in motion, a universe of consciousness. All right? Keep on reading, Ivory.
Remember your own father, great godlike Achilles, as old as I am, past the threshold of deadly old age. No doubt the countrymen round him plague him now, with no one there to defend him, beat away disaster. No one, but at least he hears you're still alive, and his old heart rejoices, hopes rising, day by day, to see his beloved son come sailing home from Troy. But I, dear God, my life, so cursed by fate, I fathered hero sons in the wide realm of Troy, and now not a single one is left, I tell you. 50 sons I had when the sons of Achaea came, 19 born to me from a single mother's womb, and the rest by other women in the palace. Many, most of them violent errors, cut the knees from under, but one was left me to guard my walls, my people, the one you killed the other day, defending his fatherland, my Hector. It's all for him I've come to the ships now, to win him back from you. I bring a priceless ransom. Revere the gods, Achilles. Pity me in my own right. Remember your own father. I deserve more pity.
Okay, so Priam is the greatest king in the world. Why? Because he's willing to humble himself before Achilles, right? Remember Agamemnon? This struggle started because Agamemnon refuses to be humble. He refuses to admit that Achilles is right. He refuses to apologize to Achilles. Okay? But Priam is the opposite of Agamemnon. Okay? He's begging for Achilles' forgiveness, even though he hates Achilles. And why does he do this? What gives him the power to ask for forgiveness, to beg Achilles? The answer is his love for Hector, right? He's doing this because he wants Hector's body back. Right? So what animates, what unifies this cosmic universe is love. Love is God, guys. To really access this universe, to really know this universe, you must love. Okay? Love makes you invincible. And so Priam has the courage to come to Achilles, but he also has the courage to beg Achilles, to forgive Achilles. All right? And what Priam says is, remember your father, Achilles, right? Okay? As I love Hector, you also love your father. And how does he know that? Because we're all connected by the universe, okay? He's able to imagine the soul of Achilles. And he knows that how Achilles loves his father, okay? As much as he loves Hector. So this is what allows them to come together. All right? The love of Hector makes Priam imagine the love of Achilles for his father. All right? And these are the two forces. Love activates the imagination. Okay, so love is the unifying force of the universe. It brings us all together. The imagination is the animating force of the universe. It makes the universe alive. Okay? And that is our purpose in this world. To love each other and then to activate our imagination to create the reality that we live in. Okay? A world where the pillar is love is perfect and it's just. Okay. All right, keep on reading, Ivory.
I have endured what no one on earth has ever done before. I put to lips the hands of the man who killed my son.
Okay, so what he's saying is that this is a unique moment in history. No one has done this before, especially a king. A king submits himself before the murderer of his beloved son. All right? And because it is unique, because it is a perfect distillation of a father's love for his son, this will be remembered forever, okay? This will become now part of the universe. And how? Because Homer is able to access it, okay? This might have happened somewhere, he doesn't know where, and this might have happened between two people. He doesn't know who, okay? But he knows this happened. He's able to draw on this to create the Iliad. Do you understand? The universe are the living memories of great deeds. And Homer is able to create this by accessing this because they're all within us if we allow it to be in us. Okay? Keep on going.
Those words stirred within Achilles a deep desire to grieve for his own father.
Okay, so you see how this works. When you imagine things, you see the truth for what it is. Okay? Keep on going.
Taking the old man's hand, he gently moved him back, and overpowered by memory, both men gave way to grief. Priam wept freely for man-killing Hector, throbbing, crouching before Achilles' feet, as Achilles wept himself, now for his father, now for Patroclus once again, and their sobbing rose and fell throughout the house. Then, when brilliant Achilles had had his fill of tears, and the longing for it has left his mind and body. So what's happened is that Priam has defeated Achilles. Okay? Remember, Achilles, his great problem is he can't cry.
He doesn't know what he did wrong. He doesn't know how to express his guilt and shame, okay? But now that Priam has forgiven him, Priam has actually liberated Achilles, okay? Before, Achilles, his soul was trapped in evil. And now, by forgiving Achilles, Priam has let his soul loose to reconnect with the universe and therefore to return to its poetic self, okay? Keep on going.
Then he rose from his seat, raised the old man by the hand, and filled with pity now for his gray head and gray beard, he spoke out winging words, flying straight to the heart. Poor man, how much you've borne. Pain to break the spirit. What daring brought you down to the ships, all alone, to face the glance of the man who killed your sons, so many fine, brave boys. You have a heart of iron. Come, please sit down on this chair here.
Okay, and so now this is a resolution, okay? This is the epiphany of Achilles. He recognizes his guilt, and now because Priam is able to forgive him, he's able to forgive himself. And so he's become wiser, more gentle, more poetic, more generous. All right? And this is what life is. This is what it means to be human. All right? To do battle with our own heart. Okay, so let me talk about what this all means. Like, who are we? Why are we here? Where are we going? So in the Buddhist and the Hindu tradition, the idea is that we are constantly reincarnating, okay? And this world that we live in, it's one of pain, it's one of suffering, but it's one that gives us insight. It's one that trains us to be wise. It's one that allows us to have the memories to create a more divine universe, okay? And we do that because we incarnate and we assume different roles, right? So maybe in this life, we are the murderer. But in the next life, we are the murdered, okay? Maybe in this life, we're a human. Next life, we are a plant. Then the next life is an animal. But it goes on infinitely until we've achieved wisdom, okay? So in other words, the point of this life is to develop empathy. Okay? Because empathy leads to wisdom and enlightenment. Right? But the great thing about a great book is it's a universe unto itself. And therefore, you can actually speed up the process of wisdom and enlightenment because by reading the Iliad, you can assume different lives. You can have different lives all at once. Okay, does that make sense? So what makes the Iliad so powerful is that you're constantly switching perspectives. Today you're Agamemnon, then you're Achilles, then you're Hector, okay? And what's amazing is that Homer is a Greek, and he's speaking for the Greeks. But it ends from the perspective of the Trojans, okay? It ends with Priam getting back Hector's body, taking it back to Troy, and everyone in Troy coming to see the body and crying, okay? Especially the wife of Hector, Atomaki, okay? So this is the ending, okay? Okay.